the second day, before we were even able to get our car back out on the track, we did have to replace a couple parts. Primarily, we needed to replace our spindle rod right here on the right front, since that's where we ended up hitting the 48 on Saturday. And we're going to go ahead and adjust our tow rod here so that we can get our tow out as needed, because that rod bent pretty significantly and left us with 2 inches tow out. So with the new rod, we are back to a ton of tow in, so we're just going to push it out quite a bit and get us back to where we were originally. Unfortunately, I didn't have any footage of our practice because a majority of it did get rained out. We ran one practice after replacing everything and did pretty okay, but not as great as we wanted to. And so as we were getting into the car for qualifying, unfortunately the rain started coming down again and delayed our qualifying by quite a bit. So we did end up having to wait out about a half hour total, but we were able to get out there pretty quickly once the rain stopped. Now, Sunday was definitely our better attempt at qualifying of the 2 days. We were able to squeeze out a 19.1 during our last lap and a 19.3 on our first green flag lap. So definitely better than the day before. We're definitely getting a little more comfortable in the FZ, but still being pretty conservative considering we don't have a ton of seat time. But that ended up putting us 28th out of 40 cars on Sunday, because Saturday did yield a couple of crashes and ended up not allowing some of the cars to come back. So unfortunately, we weren't up against as many cars as we were on Saturday, but still pretty happy with where we qualified on Sunday. This is what I would consider our best qualifying attempt so far. Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough to lock us into the fast features or the fast dash. Because we qualified 28th and they were accepting the top 17 to the fast feature, we had to try and battle our way into this heat race to try and make a transfer spot. We started 11th. That put us in a pretty okay position to start out with. We are right behind the 01 with the 95 to our outside. We get a really good start. We were able to maintain position and keep up with everyone here on lap 1. But unfortunately, with everyone trying to be as greedy as they are on lap 1 in these dashes, trying to make that transfer spot, there just isn't enough room on the racetrack to play around like that, and there's already a handful of cars going around on lap 2. This of course brings out the caution, so we all had to rack back up and try and restart. Now our first restart here was actually really good, aside from sitting on the limiter in second gear a little too long. We felt like we were able to keep pace pretty okay, and we were on the inside of the 48 here when we felt like he was getting a little too loose and lifted a little bit to hopefully avoid contact. Luckily the 48 kept it together and we ended up losing our momentum a little bit, but that's alright. Now we're on the inside of the 27 here, having a nice little battle, trying to keep it as clean as possible, giving him the room on the outside to not squeeze him into the wall, and hoping that he'll do the same for us on the inside. But unfortunately, we were trying a little too hard and just went around on our own. Luckily, no one hit us and we didn't cause anyone else to make contact, so we kept her rolling, ended up in the back, which right now isn't a huge deal. It's only lap 1 of a 17-lap dash, so we felt like our recovery was pretty good. And then not even a full lap later, there were 2 more cars that went around in front of us. Luckily, we were able to split them and avoid making contact with them, but that of course brought out another caution, so we'll rack them up and try it again. So with us spinning out, that ended up restarting us towards the rear of the field, which isn't the end of the world. We're kind of giving away our transfer spot now, so we're not even battling or worrying about that anymore. First corner of the restart, we end up pushing 3 wide on the outside of the 8 and the 28 on the inside of him. We got a pretty decent jump and we were able to clear him on the straightaway. We end up battling the 78 here on our inside and passing her on the outside over the start finish line, and that allowed us to tuck in behind the 26 now. And like I said earlier, we're just trying to make it to our feature now, so we're kind of just taking care of the car and not worrying about trying to make the transfer spot anymore. And a handful of laps later, we get about 4 or 5 cars tangling up and getting in trouble in turn 4, so I brought out the caution once again and evidently ended up bringing out the red flag, so we ended up getting stopped on the backstretch, but it wasn't long for them to clean it up, and we got rolling here pretty soon once again. So I feel like our restarts have been getting pretty good lately. We've got the momentum now to carry through the corner, and we ended up giving the 26 a good little bump, but I guess that killed the most of our momentum, so the 27 ended up working their way around us, as well as the 1 car. We don't really have the momentum, I guess, on the restart to keep up, but those guys were also running in front earlier, so I can't imagine that they were going to sit behind us for very long. We ended up moving to the inside of the 26 here and trying to battle them for a little while, but we just kind of felt like we wanted to take care of the car a little bit more than we wanted to race everyone else around us, so we ended up giving up the position to the 26 and just kind of riding around for the most part until the white flag ended up coming out and we made one last lap and completed the dash in 15th. So definitely not the best. We lost a couple spots, but not the end of the world. I think our qualifying was pretty much the highlight of the day. So after crossing the finish line, we had a short intermission, waited for the top 7 to move up to the fast feature, and then we started lining up for our feature, which is a 30-lap event. We started on the outside in the 3rd row, so we had a pretty good starting spot. Our start was pretty good. We were able to keep pace for the most part with everyone around us. The 95 on pole, the 19 right in front of us. We were getting pushed to the start pretty significantly here. We weren't even pressing the gas and we were pretty much plowing through the 19, but once the green flag dropped, the 1 car pretty much dropped a gear and disappeared on us, and everyone just kind of fell in line pretty quickly, and we went green to checker, no cautions whatsoever for 30 straight laps. So our race was pretty clean. There were a handful of situations that may have warranted a caution, but ultimately didn't because everyone got rolling again pretty quickly. For example, right here, we're a couple laps into the race and the 17 and 95 got together right in front of us and made everyone check up in turn 2, but there was no caution thrown, so everyone just kept rolling and started moving again. We ultimately lost a majority of our momentum, so the 26 ended up getting around us on the outside right here, but not a couple laps later, the 26 ended up getting quite a bit loose coming off the corner and ended up spinning right in front of us, which again killed a large part of our momentum and allowed the 28 car to get around us for a little bit, but we ended up staying in it pretty well and getting our position back about a lap or so later. We did end up making the adjustment to drop our right rear pressure by about 2.5 pounds just to help tighten the car up, because we were still fighting our loose condition all weekend, even spilling into Sunday. It seemed to help quite a bit and gave us a little bit more drive off the corner because we were able to pick up a little bit sooner, and we started feeling more comfortable in the car and obviously started braking a little bit later than we usually were, so that allowed us to get around the 9 here on the outside, allowing us to dive in a little bit further, and then we ended up putting the 34 here down a lap to us, so we were doing pretty good, getting more and more consistent. Our lap times were pretty much in the 19.4s and 19.5s for the rest of the night. Still have a lot of work to do to try and get down into the 19.1s again, because we were able to score it for qualifying, but that was pretty much it for the night. We did end up putting the 17 down here a lap because it seems like they developed an issue after they made contact with the 95, but we stuck to the outside here in turns 3 and 4 to allow the 1 to kind of go through because they were the leader. We were given the blue cross to kind of stay and hold our line, but ultimately that was the white flag lap right there as we let him pass. So as we pick up the checker, we were scored a lap down officially, and we were ultimately the first car a lap down, so not the best. There were only 5 cars that finished on the lead lap, so that put us finishing 6th, but overall, I'd say we had a really good weekend for the car, especially with it being our first weekend out. We learned a ton in it. Obviously, I have to reiterate, first weekend in the FZ09, first weekend with the AFCO shock, so we have a ton to learn. I feel like we came pretty close to getting used to it and doing a bit better than we were in the 1250. Now we just got to pull into our pit stall and load everything up in the trailer, drive the car up, and go home, which obviously is the best outcome to a weekend, just to drive it on the trailer. So definitely appreciate you guys following along. We've got one more race on October 7th up at Colorado National Speedway, so if you're in the area, go ahead and stop by. We'll hang out. They're going to be doing some trick-or-treating in the infield. So other than that, I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.